Hey everyone, welcome back. Okay, today we are unpacking a seriously fascinating viral pop music mystery. If you've been, anywhere near a radio or the internet recently, you have absolutely heard the rumors. The internet went crazy claiming that Miley Cyrus completely ripped off Bruno Mars's 2012 smash hit When I Was Your Man to create her massive 2023 anthem, Flowers. So we're gonna put on our musical detective hats today. We're looking at the actual forensic evidence, the sheet music, the tempos, the rhythms, to see if this whole internet claim of musical theft actually holds any water.
You know, it's actually incredibly easy to see why people think this, right? The lyrical connections are just undeniable. Bruno sings, "I should have bought you flowers and held your hand." And then Miley sings, "I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, and I can hold my own hand." She is clearly, intentionally flipping a script from a place of regret to a place of total empowerment. But, while the lyrics are obviously having a direct conversation, does the actual music tell that same story? Like, does the literal sheet music support the claim that Miley copied Bruno? Let's find out.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We've got 1, the pop mystery, 2, a tale of 2 tempos, 3, clashing chords, 4, rhythmic complexity, 5, the power of silence, and finally, 6, engineered emotion. Let's start right at the scene of the crime with section 1, the pop mystery, lyrical nods versus musical DNA. If we line up the basic, top-level features of both songs side by side, we can see they actually share the exact same musical key, the key of C major. And of course, we already know they share thematic links, but honestly, that is pretty much where the musical similarities completely end. Bruno's track is the stripped-back, highly emotional piano ballad that focuses entirely on regret and loss. Meanwhile, Miley's track is heavily influenced by 1970s disco pop and funk, with a theme of fierce self-reliance. They are occupying totally different sonic spaces. Moving to the actual foundation of the songs, we hit section 2, a tale of 2 tempos, dirge versus disco. So the very first piece of hard forensic evidence that sets these 2 tracks apart is the tempo. Basically, how fast is the heartbeat of the music? Well, Bruno's song sits at a slow, dragging 73 beats per minute. And this is incredibly deliberate. The slow pace perfectly mirrors that heavy, stripped-back emotional regret of a classic Torch song. It literally feels like someone sitting all alone at a piano, pouring their heart out, just weighed down by the mistakes they've made. It takes its time, because grief takes its time. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast, because wow, contrast that heavy drag with Flowers. Miley's track pulses at a driving 118 beats per minute. That is a mid-tempo, disco funk pulse. It's a tempo that physically demands movement. While Bruno's tempo traps you in a chair feeling sad, Miley's tempo grabs you by the hand and pulls you right onto the dance floor to celebrate your independence. So the speeds are entirely different. But what about the harmonic framework? That brings us to section 3, clashing chords, sprawling chaos versus steady loops. Now what's really interesting about this is how completely different the literal chord progressions are when you pull them directly from the source material. Yes, okay, both songs start with an A minor chord, but as music experts are quick to point out, tens of thousands of sad songs start with A minor. That doesn't mean much. Look at Bruno's chords. They are sprawling. He shifts through A minor, C, D minor, G, G7, C, and G over B just in the verse alone. It's complex, it's wandering. Now contrast that with Miley. She relies on a really clean, steady 4-chord loop. A minor, D minor, G, C. That's it. It repeats almost like a mantra, creating this incredibly reliable, contemporary pop groove. Okay, we've seen the chords and the tempos completely clash. Now we reach the absolute climax of our musical investigation. Section 4, rhythmic complexity. Vocal gymnastics versus unapologetic simplicity. Let's break down Bruno's rhythm first. How does the melody actually behave when he sings? Well, in When I Was Your Man, it is vastly more complex and constantly shifting. He uses wildly varying note values throughout the verses. He speeds up his delivery, he slows it down, plus he makes extensive use of this massive, soaring vocal range. This rhythmic complexity is chaotic, right? But it perfectly mirrors an erratic, reflective, emotional state. It's the sound of someone desperately pleading and bargaining with their own memories. Now, contrast this with Miley. Her rhythmic approach is just unapologetic simplicity. In her verses, the melody is built on straightforward quarter note beats. It's a steady, repetitive, looping rhythm with a very minimal melodic range. Now, to be clear, this isn't lazy songwriting, not at all.
It's a highly deliberate showcase of unshakable confidence. That steady, unwavering heartbeat of quarter notes shows us she isn't erratic, she isn't pleading, she is planted firmly on the ground, totally secure in her self-reliance. Miley's steady rhythm is brilliant, but there's a specific production choice that takes the whole thing to the next level. Let's move to section 5, the power of silence, and examine this genius trick known as the slingshot effect. So the crucial point here is understanding this concept. In your standard run-of-the-mill disco pop song, you expect a heavy thud from the kick drum right as the big chorus begins, right on beat 1. But in Flowers, they entirely withhold that first beat. They leave it completely, totally silent. It completely subverts all of our standard pop music expectations.
Think of it like this, in 2 distinct steps. Step 1 is winding the bow. By leaving that first beat entirely empty, the producers create this sudden, breathless vacuum of tension. Then, step 2 is the release. When the instrumentation finally hits explosively on beat 2, the rhythm feels like it's literally leaning forward. It gives the song this incredibly propulsive, strutting energy. And lyrically, this is the best part. It perfectly mirrors Miley's sudden realization. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers. That silent beat is the exact moment the light bulb goes on in her head.
All of this brings us to the most important part of our explainer. Section 6, engineered emotion, connecting theory to story. Let's move to our final conclusion and see how this all builds together. Why do these specific musical choices actually matter? Because these artists deliberately engineer their sound to perfectly match their opposite emotional journeys. Bruno's sprawling, shifting chords and his complex vocal rhythms, that is the literal sound of erratic regret and pleading. Meanwhile, Miley's simple 4-chord loops, that driving 118 BPM, and her strategic use of silence, that is the literal sound of a woman who has found a steady, absolutely unshakable confidence. Which brings us to this definitive quote from music analysts comparing the 2 tracks. They stated quite simply, if you actually compared the sheet music for Flowers and When I Was Your Man, they wouldn't match up at all. Myth busted. So, while Flowers is absolutely 100% a lyrical response and a thematic clapback to Bruno Mars, structurally, harmonically, and rhythmically, it is its own entirely unique creation.
So, what does this all mean? We've cracked the case. Miley didn't steal the music, she just brilliantly answered the lyrics while building a totally different sonic world. But it does leave us with something much deeper to think about next time you put on your headphones. Is a song's structural arrangement, the tempo, the chord loops, the hidden silences, actually more important to telling a story and making us feel an emotion than the actual lyrics themselves? Keep an ear out for that slingshot effect in your favorite playlists, and we'll see you in the next explainer.